Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Satyam Khandelwal, your own mentor from Buddy for Study Academy. And I'm really excited to host you all again today with a very special guest that we have, Dr. Vinita Berry. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
Dr. Vinita Berry is the founder of Priceless Parenting. She has 20 plus years of experience in guiding parents and students in terms of how the communication between parents and children can be made more effective. We are really proud to have her here. And this podcast is mainly for all the students and youngsters who find it difficult to communicate with their parents, right? And a lot of questions we already have from students regarding how to deal with parents, how to make effective communication with parents. We have a lot of counseling requests from parents on how to guide their students, how to guide their children who are studying in various fields at various levels. Now, since Dr. Vinita is with us today, we'll try to get as many answers as possible to the questions that we have. Vinita ma'am, with your permission, we will follow a mix of English and Hindi because of the audience.
Sure.
Yeah, because of the comfort of the
Sure,
audience.
that will be better. Yeah.
Great. So welcome back again, ma'am, to our podcast. And the first question, as simple as it is, why is it difficult for children to communicate with parents when it comes to anything, any question about their career or life or relationships? Why is it difficult?
See, children and parents have always had different perspectives about life, events, and anything that goes around them. And the main reason always has been the age gap, the generation gap. And not only age gap, but also the kind of circumstances in which they grew up and in which the children are growing up. That is very different. And that generation gap has been widened more because of the technology, which is being updated every day now and then. I think that has increased that generation gap. So it has become more difficult to interact and communicate with each other. Also, I think that ineffective communication, actually, if you ask me, the barrier to it for the communication is communication itself. Because the communication that we as parents somehow do is very ineffective. So if we do effective communication from the childhood, I think our children learn the same thing. They also replicate the same thing. They also want to do the same thing with their friends and people around them. And they become more happier, mature, and also they are more confident in interacting with people. So age gap, I think, is the biggest thing that happens. Yeah.
So age gap or more so the generation gap, as you mentioned.
The generation gap, yeah.
Okay.
And especially that has been widened because of the technology. Like, my phone every day says a new update. So the parent is not ready for an update every day. So it's become more challenging for the parent to come to terms with what the children are doing.
Okay. So is it also because in the generation of today's parents, there were less things to handle and therefore they are not that accustomed to so many updates that you're pointing out? Is it because how they grew up was different? Is it the
Absolutely.
reason?
That's what I said. No, the environment in which the parents were born and they grew up is absolutely different from what is happening today. For us, socialization is meeting people. For these children, socialization is texting. They don't want to be among people. They don't want to look into each other's eyes and talk. They don't want to be in a gathering. For them, gathering is on the social network. So things are very, different from how it used to be in the parents' time. And I think generation gap has existed since years and years. But then, as I told you, it has widened during these times, because of the technological inputs, because of the change in technology that has happened, because of the bombardment of technology that has happened.
That's true. Can't agree more. But then you also pointed out a very interesting thing here, that communication in general. And I just wonder, because I also belong to the training fraternity where we are asked to coach students on communication. Never, as far as I can remember, we covered parent-child communication in the lessons, when we were teaching communication. Do you think it should be covered now, like specifically how to deal with?
Absolutely. See, me, especially being a parenting expert, I have been going to various schools pan India and taking parenting sessions for children of very young parents. I mean, for the young parents, so that from the beginning they know how they have to approach the children, how they have to create that bond with their children, and how they can use effective communication and a more conscious parenting that is going to help them. So
That's
it is
great.
very important.
That's great. That's great. So these sessions should be included in the regular modules as well when it comes to
Absolutely,
schools.
absolutely mandatory, I must say.
Perfect. So a lot of things that are being spoken around, because you're a parenting coach, is what parents need to do to make this better, make the current situation better. Do you also think there are some initiatives that, okay, students who are very young, we cannot expect much from them because they are just building up their personality, but students who are like, let's say in their teens or 15 plus, because we have received queries from students who are 19, 20, even 22, 23,
Yeah,
who find it really difficult to communicate with their parents. And when we talk about career selections, most of the times their queries, mummy nahi manegi, papa nahi manenge, parents nahi agree karenge. Do you think some adaptability can come from the student side as well? What do they need to prepare? How does that happen?
See, first is I think the children need to understand the affordability of a parent. Now, since देखा देखी एक दूसरे को, वो US जा रहा है तो मुझे भी US जाना है. So
Right.
most of the students, they aspire to go abroad. They forget about the spending capacity of the parent, which is very important for the child to understand.
True.
And they should understand that there are so many careers with so many options and scope these days, even in India.
Yeah.
India is not
For sure.
lagging behind,
For sure.
and
For sure.
especially after Make in India and the new projects that have come up, I think there's a lot of scope for Indian children to do here. So they should understand, also talk it out very clearly. The problem is again, that ineffective communication. Here we have to sit with the parent and talk it out, because their wisdom and their experience would be of some help. They have seen the world in a better way, although they do not have the, they lack the knowledge concerning the career options which are going to be futuristic or which are evolving these days. Their information is somewhere lacking on that. But still, their wisdom of what a job would contain, what would be the demands of the job, would you as a child, I mean, they understand their children best.
True.
So they would be able to understand would their child's competence level and the caliber would match the requirements of that particular job or that particular career or not. So I think it is very important to sit with the parents for a child and discuss it very openly.
Right. Makes sense. And so the key points that I could make out was, one is the children must understand the affordability factor with their parents. But a broader perspective that I could gain here is that the comparison or the following of the crowd that happens, कि वो जा रहा है तो हमें भी जाना है, ये कर रहा है तो हमें भी जाना है, that is something that is happening a lot among our students, for sure. Because whenever students come to us for career guidance, they always have a benchmark. कि मेरे फ्रेंड ने ऐसा किया था, वो वहां गया है, तो इसलिए मुझे भी वो अच्छा लग रहा है. So does it also mean that students must find the right way of career selection first before going to their parents, because they'll have more confidence while discussing?
Not before going to the parents. I understand that, you see, some children have a liking. Some children are very clear in their perspective from a very young age, but most of them are not. In that case, I would want the parents to step in, maybe at the right time when the children are in grade 9 or 10. The parents should get a profile testing for the child. They should get the psychometric tests that are available. They're available online also these days. True. Online, offline, whichever mode. They should understand the interest, the caliber, and the competence of the child, and then suggest a child, not just just like जैसे थोप देते हैं कि नहीं यही करना है तुम्हें, because ये हमें पसंद है. So not doing that, but actually understanding what the child is capable of, what are his interests, what are his likings, and then if you do it, very authentically, if somebody like a psychometric test or a psychologist authenticates it, there's a probability of going on the right track. I have two grown-up children. My daughter is a doctor and my son is a chef. But believe me, I got the psychometric testing started doing that in grade 9. And truly speaking, they are very close to what were the results.
Wow. Okay. So
So
that
it
was
is very
effective.
important, I think, for the parents to do this.
Great. Great. So that is something that parents can initiate
Yeah.
very early. And that does not require a lot of efforts because it's scientific now. I mean, they
Yes.
have to just appear for the test.
Mm.
Ma'am, also a lot of times when students come for face-to-face career guidance, what we have also observed is when students come and the query arises from the students themselves, the counseling session is really effective. A lot of times parents bring students to the counseling session, and when we are counseling them in front of the parents, जब parents वहाँ पे available रहते हैं, बैठे रहते हैं, they are very less interactive. Who? The students. The moment they are alone and the parents are out, of course the counselor also has to make an attempt to ensure that they speak, but the interactiveness, there is a clear difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is the factor here? What is the, because I've seen it's not like parents are really strict. Sometimes parents are strict, students and children try to speak less in front of them. But even if the parents are really really supportive, or if the parents are really encouraging, still students are speaking more in the absence of their parents, more interactive in the absence, less in their presence. Which factor is working here?
See, nowadays, I would say it is a little subjective because it will depend upon the family to family scenario, how non-judgmental the parents are in which family, how much openness is there, how much effective communication is there. But somewhere, children, when they are speaking in front of their parents, they are always scared how the parent might react to. In what
True.
way they might get upset, they might get disappointed, and they, knowing their parents very well, they have that fear कि अरे ये तो दिशा ए में जाना चाहते हैं और मैं दिशा बी में जाना चाहता हूँ, so they
Okay.
will be hurt or they'll be worried or they will not like it. And also sometimes children feel that they will try to fix me up. अगर मैं कह रहा हूँ कि मुझे सपोज शेफ बनना है और हमारे घर में कोई इस लाइन में गया ही नहीं है, they have been into very academician kind of spheres, so they would not like it, they would not accept what I want, and after acceptance they will force me to do something else what as per their liking. So they will not like me to fight my own battle, but they will fix it up कि नहीं ये नहीं ये कर लो ये अच्छा है. So that is the fear that each child has inside. And you will notice that it is more with the children where the communication channels are not very open at home. Where,
Okay.
the parents are not non-judgmental, they are judgmental, they are forming opinions about the children, and they somehow take that liberty to take those major decisions in the child's life. That iska career hai, to ye mujhe decide karna, I am responsible.
Okay. Okay.
So
Yeah,
they
true.
do not let their children fall and then learn. They do not let the children, go through the consequences of their own actions or own decisions. So that decision making did not arise when the children grew up. This pattern would have followed from their childhood itself.
Okay.
So that is
Okay.
where the problem lies.
That is interesting. I mean, even when it is pretty clear and all the parents would know that unless a person tries and fails and retries, he won't learn.
Yeah.
You cannot decide everything for the other person. But when it comes to your own children, I mean, the psychology, I think there is some difference there, some protection coming in. So that brings me to my next question, ma'am, which again will be, could be your response, could be black and white here. It could be descriptive. It's always said that there is a thin line between overprotection and negligence. Where is that line? Like, how should parents be? We have seen parents on both the extremes. There are parents who are really, really overprotective, some of which you have just explained what happens because it becomes a kind of a burden for children. Sometimes the children lose their track. And we have seen parents who are really negligent as well. They are not aware of what the children is doing, what the child is doing, who is he hanging around with.
Yeah.
Where is the thin line? What should parents control? What should they let go?
See, the neglectful parents or the uninvolved parents, definitely, as you said, they are not bothered about anything. There's no love, no support, no care. They don't ever set boundaries for their children. They don't even demand from the children कि तुम्हें इतने marks लाने हैं, तुम्हें ये करना है, तुम्हें वो करना है. वो बिल्कुल ही involved ही नहीं है parents के साथ, बच्चों के साथ. And ये दोनों ही extreme है. दूसरी तरफ जो आप बोल रहे हो कि overprotective parents, so they are like land mowers. Literally, they want to chuck out all the problems or difficulties that come in the path of their children. They always try to act like cushions. Like my child should not fall. They try to, handle the child कि गिरने से पहले संभाल लो, कोई मुसीबत आए उससे पहले बचा लो. So they are so protective about everything that they do not let their children experience their life on their own, because that cushioning is always there. And as you said, both are extremes, absolutely extremes. But then there is a thin line, because the parents need to understand that in both the cases, they are giving harmful effects to the children.
True.
The child is getting impacted in a very negative way. So here I would suggest, there's a parenting style that we call authoritative parenting style. So all the parents should understand that they need to involve their children, engage them in discussions. They need to hear them out. Children should not be only seen, they should be heard. So parents should create a scenario where they should talk to their children very openly, discuss things with them, discuss the pros and cons of the situations. Although I don't say, that they should accept everything that the child says. So such parents definitely listen to their children, and sometimes whenever possible do accept whatever they want. But they also set limits and boundaries to what they are doing and how they are behaving. So I think that is the best parenting style ever, which has been, scientifically also proven, that we need to have a right balance between the freedom and the opportunity, freedom and the responsibility.
Right. So makes sense, ma'am. So you are saying that in a nutshell, as parents, we need to hear this children as well first, not just observe. We need to hear them out first.
Yes,
and
yes.
find a thin line between what you want to control and where you want to give them freedom to explore.
Yes, yes.
How important is ensuring that the child is hanging out with good people? And why I'm asking this is because I have seen, or we rather have seen, a very high impact on children basis who he or she is hanging around with, the kind of the core circle, the closest friends. I mean, huge impact. We have seen personalities of the children changing. We have seen preferences changing at the young age basis who the person is hanging around with. Should parents have a say in that, or should they just observe? How should it be?
See, I feel it depends on what the parent has been doing. Because we generally say children do not hear you, they see you.
True.
At least till the age of 12 or 14, they
True.
observe you and they try to imitate what you have been doing. So it also depends on what kind of friend circle the parent has been keeping. What kind of company the parent moves around in. Where do the children go with the parents around? What kind of locality, what kind of people, what kind of friends? That really makes a difference. Also, it is, yes, important to know where the child is moving around, where is the child going, where is he hanging about, with whom. But then sometimes you cannot be very pushy. If you try to be very pushy, the child is going to be very discreet. The child will stop telling you, or make sure that the information does not reach you. True. So we need to talk it out in a very subtle manner with the child. We need to be on an inquisitive side, but in a very polite and a nice manner, where the child feels that you are talking as a friend and trying to know. Not as we sometimes, as parents are very, very prescriptive. So the child thinks, Mama, Papa, mujhe bolenge, ye acha nahi hai, aisa nahi milna. This child does this, nahi milna. Instead of a parent who would say, beta sab bacche अच्छे होते हैं, but कुछ बच्चे गलत काम करते हैं. Instead of labeling, गलत हो जाता है. So you should be careful about people. And we have to prepare our children for the worst. Tell them how they have to handle people who are not doing right around them. Right. Tell them how they have to critically think and take decisions for themselves. Even, see, you cannot control the kind of people you have around you. And as you grow up, I think 90% of the people will be negative and 10% will be positive. True. So instead of telling them whom to hang out with, whom not to hang out with, let them understand, let them, have that wisdom to gauge and judge what kind of people are around them, how they should be interacting with them, what kind of line should they draw in being close to them, how much influence should they derive and how much influence should they give. They should also understand it's not अगर कोई drugs ले रहा है तो मैं उससे सीख के drugs ले लूं, मैं अगर नहीं लेता तो मैं उसको convince कर सकता हूं कि वो भी ना ले. So why not this? So they should also understand the positive aspect of this, that even if they are hanging with wrong people, they can be the right doers. They can also influence people to do the right thing. So I think that is a better option rather than just telling the children, इसके साथ मत जाओ, उसके साथ मत जाओ. सही को भी गलत को भी सही बना सकते हो. So I think that is a win-win situation for our children.
True, very interesting, ma'am. So basically, like instead of telling the children कि ये अच्छा है और ये गंदा है, we can actually, the parents can actually tell them कि अच्छे के साथ कैसे behave करना है और खराब के साथ अगर आप कोई ऐसे किसी को कुछ काम करते देखोगे खराब, तो you should behave this way.
Absolutely.
This wisdom should be passed on to the students.
Yes. And the child should be able to think critically himself and take a decision कि ये बच्चा ऐसा है तो मेरे लिए ठीक है कि नहीं. Is it a good company for me? Is it going to be good for me in some way? Is it going to have some bad influence on me? In what way? So the child should be in a position of taking these decisions for himself.
True.
And yes, if the openness is there at home, come and discuss it with the parents. That I met so and so. I have been hanging around with so and so. This is what is happening. This is what he does. This is what I say. So that effective communication will happen only if the parents will not be judgmental. Only if the parents will not form opinions. अच्छा तुम उसके साथ रहते हो, इसका मतलब तुम भी जरूर ड्रग्स लेते होगे. तुम उसके साथ रहते हो तो तुम भी sneak out करते होगे. तुम भी क्लास बंक करते होगे. तो जनरली we start forming opinions as a parent very soon.
फिर तो दोबारा बताएगा भी नहीं.
Yeah. Instead of forming opinions, hear out your child.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. That's actually really true, because how you respond to what children say, because we have seen, fortunately I am the father of a 3-year-old daughter here. Now she is very young. She has just started sharing. Now when she shares things, वो जब कुछ आके बताती, the way we respond as parents will decide whether she will tell us things from here on next time or not. And that is what you are actually saying as well, because instead of forming our opinions कि नहीं ऐसा क्यों किया, वहां क्यों गई, next time शायद वो जाएगी तो डर से बताएगी भी नहीं कि मैं वहां चले गई थी. But if we are more receptive and we are explaining that this is something that you should do, this is the fear, this is the risk, or this is what, maybe she will tell us from the next time. So this makes total sense, ma'am.
और होता पता है क्या है कि पेरेंट्स सोचते हैं बच्चे बड़े हो जाएंगे तब उनसे बात करेंगे.
True.
जब ये हमें समझने लग जाएंगे, समझदार हो जाएंगे, then we will start communicating. We'll be at the same platform. But this is very wrong in opinion. We have to start when they are young. As you said, 3 साल के बच्चे से आप बात करते हो. And 3 साल का बच्चा has a fully developed brain. 90% उसका brain developed होता है. तो why not treat that child as an adult and start talking to the child? I remember when my children were young, very young, in the nursery KG classes. They used to come back. I used to ask them, अच्छा मुझे 3 things बताओ जो स्कूल में हुई. They used to be very absurd things. हमने पानी पिया, हम सुसु गए, हमने खाना खाया. I used to be very happy. बहुत अच्छी बात, very nice. And but that became a habit. That became such a habit that the moment they came back from the schools, until now, my daughter comes back from the hospital. She's in the US. She wants to vomit out everything in front of me. So until unless they share things with me, they are not happy. But this was started when they were very young.
Wow.
It did not happen when they grew up. So the parent has to understand that you have to start it when the children are young and start interacting with them in a very non-judgmental way. कि अच्छा तुमने पानी पिया, क्यों पिया? क्यों नहीं गए तुम सुसु करने? आज ये क्या बता रहे हो? कुछ और बताओ. अच्छा ये बताओ किसी बच्चे ने कुछ कहा कि नहीं. So we become more inquisitive. We want to ask something that we want to hear, instead of accepting what the child is telling us. So we need to be on the accepting side when we are dealing with our children.
Right. So again, the basic crux of hearing them out, like first hearing them out and without forming opinions, without imposing on them what we want to hear.
Because so I have seen parents overpowering the children. उन्होंने एक चीज बताई, हम 10 चीज उनसे और पूछ लेंगे. So we generally try to overpower the children and push them back. कि अच्छा ये है तो ये बताओ. और हम कुछ उनकी privacy में इतना घुसने लग जाते हैं when they become adolescent and teenagers that we cross that line. We have to give that space to children. इतना भी मत पूछो कि बच्चा बताना छोड़ दे और घबरा जाए, है ना? तो उतना पूछो जितना आपको लगता है. You give that comfort zone to the child जितना आपको लगता है सही है पूछना. Don't just penetrate too much into their private space.
Right. शायद कम पूछेंगे तो वो खुद से बता दे, और अगर बहुत ज्यादा पूछेंगे तो then he or she will get irritated. That is the risk. But this is very interesting point, when a lot of parents you mentioned that try to wait to a certain point, जो कहीं पे लिखा हुआ नहीं है कि इतना बड़ा जब हो जाएगा आपका बेटा या बेटी तब आप उससे बात करना चालू करो, but still they wait. Why is it difficult? Is it a difficult thing for parents to communicate? How is it, like why do a lot of parents tend to wait a lot and अभी नहीं बात करते यार, अभी से क्या बात करेंगे, जब हमारी बातें समझेगा तब वेट करेंगे? Why this? Is it difficult to start
वही, एक तो
communicating?
किस माहौल में वो लोग पड़े हुए हैं, उनके
Okay.
घरों में क्या होता था, that really creates a big impact. And also their own belief system. उनको लगता है उनके बच्चे बड़े हो गए या नहीं लगता, क्योंकि मोस्ट पेरेंट्स फील बच्चे बड़े होते हैं जब वो 15-16 साल के हो जाते हैं, 17 साल के हो जाते हैं. उनको लगता ही नहीं कि छोटा बच्चा जो 3 to 5 years का है उसका फुली डेवलप्ड ब्रेन है, वो सब समझता है. कॉग्निटिवली दैट चाइल्ड इज वेरी स्ट्रांग इनफ. They lack that knowledge and that expertise. Also, nowadays people have very less time to connect.
True.
They all are working. They feel that they all, do not have time. They are so much अपनी उलझनों में इतने उलझे रहते हैं कि बच्चों से बात करने का समय ही नहीं है उनके पास. वो कनेक्ट करने का टाइम नहीं है. बात करते हैं तो क्या, बेटा स्कूल में क्या चल रहा है, तुम होमवर्क कर रहे हो कि नहीं, तुमने काम खत्म कर लिया, तुम क्लासेस पे जा रहे हो कि नहीं, इसके अलावा कोई उनके पास छठी बात नहीं होती है करने को. सो द पेरेंट्स हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड, दे हैव टू गो बियॉन्ड अ पॉइंट. इट्स नॉट दैट रेगुलर स्टफ दैट दे नीड टू टॉक टू कनेक्ट. If they really want to connect with their children heart to heart, they have to start being a friend to them. I will tell you a very beautiful thing, that parenting has been there, always there. So John Piaget theory, this theory, that theory came into being later. But then जब हमारे ऋषि मुनि होते थे जी, तभी वो लोग पेरेंटिंग को 3 स्टेजेस में डिवाइड करते थे. They used to say when the child is born, 0 to 5 years is the first stage. And that stage is called Laliyet. Laliyet means unconditional love. It's a Sanskrit word, Laliyet. Lalan palan jaise hota hai. Okay. So 0 to 5 years is the stage when you have to give unconditional love to your child. Then the second stage, which used to be from 5 to 14 years, I now say 5 to 12 years. Okay. Because of the pre-puberty and pre-adolescent stage. Yes. So 5 to 12 years is the next stage, which is called Tadiyet. Okay. So Tadiyet means to train or to discipline. So that is the time when you have to teach the wisdom of right and wrong to your child. When you have to tell the child what will be the pros, what will be the cons of doing a particular action. When you help them to critically think and take decisions for themselves. That is the second stage. And 12-year onwards is the third stage, which is called Mitravat Acharit. That means be a friend to your child. And we generally say if you haven't completed your first 2 stages very efficiently, the third stage is difficult to achieve. So you can be a friend to your child only when the child puts you at that pedestal. Has she seen you at that pedestal where he finds you as a role model, where he finds you as somebody unique who has been doing right, who has been critically thinking himself or taking, good decisions and being resilient himself or herself. Then only the child drives that role model experience from the parent. So this was one thing I thought I would just digress and share.
Oh, why not? I mean, this is something that everybody should know, because it seems like it could be, we have so much wisdom to be, taken from our Vedas and our mythologies. And this is something around parenting, and it is a big issue here. And by what you have said, it makes so much sense, because now parents, when they know this, they will have some goal to achieve. So it seems like the third stage, that is Mitra, the friendship stage, Mitravat Acharit, it's a stature to achieve for parents, because it's not like कि आप 12 साल तक कुछ नहीं करोगे और अचानक से friend बन जाओगे. It's something that you have to achieve. It's a stature that the child will give you if you have done the first.
जब connect बनाएंगे नहीं तो आप उस connection से current कैसे pass करोगे?
Right.
पहले तो तारे जोड़नी है ना, और वो तारे तभी जोड़ोगे जब spark होगा, तो कुछ नहीं हो सकता ना जब emergency. That has to be always there so that the current slowly keeps on passing. So that one day, even if the spark is there, you can reunite it again.
Wow.
Yeah?
That's amazing, ma'am. That's an amazing insight. Perfect. Great. So these 3 stages that you have just spoken about, like 0 to 5, 5 to 12, and 12 onwards, it's so skewed, because ये अगर पुराने टाइम से ये चीजें चली आ रही है, and it is written somewhere, or it is maybe advised by our rishis and munis, the intellectuals that were there at that time, today parents feel कि ये जो discipline वाली चीज है जब बच्चा बड़ा हो जाएगा तब करेंगे, which comes when they are like 11, 12 or 13.
Yeah.
तब तक ध्यान ही नहीं देते. They are already in the third stage as per per the wisdom that is written. So this is it's a huge skewness. I mean, it's not like 8 या 9 साल. अभी के parents 12, 13 साल I think तब तक बच्चा ही मानते हैं. And they are not communicating. And as per what you said, 5 to 12 is the age where they need to teach discipline, what's right and what's wrong. For that, they need to communicate. That's really, really great. Ma'am, specifically coming now to career selections. Yeah. So we recently received a query of a student who was 19 years of age, and he had completed his 12th, and he, I think, enrolled for a graduation program. I think it was engineering, like the majority of the students do in India, and it was his parents' call, or let's say the societal call, to go for an engineering degree. But he was really, really good in finance, and he was already investing in stock market, and he has acquired such an expertise that he was recommending other people, and he was already acting as a consultant. Now he told us that I want to do a course in this, and I already like this field, and people are taking advice from me. He's already making videos, but he said, I have not told my parents. So I cannot go for a full-time course. I just want to do it on the side of an engineering degree so that my parents feel that I'm doing engineering. Now, I want to ask you two things. One, is this approach right? If the student is doing this, so it becomes easy for us also to recommend, because we can recommend on paper what is good and bad for him. We cannot recommend what is good in terms of parent-child relationship, telling the parents or not telling the parents. You would be an expert there. Is it the right approach for the student? Or if not, then what is the right approach here?
See, it is again a very, very subjective question, because it will all depend on the passion of the child. If the child is really passionate about it, is really, aiming at something and is very clear in the path, the child would make it, definitely. Even if he is doing parallelly engineering or not, the child will make it. That means the child is so convinced about his capabilities that he understands, so it's okay, perfectly. Why not? And you see, even in our age group, I'm seeing that people are switching over their professions at a later stage.
Yes.
At a very late stage. I just had a guest, from some foreign country, and he told me he was a chartered accountant till the age of, say, 48. No, he was a marine scientist. I'm so sorry. He was a marine scientist till 38. After 38, from marine scientist, he used to read newspapers on the ship and read those finance articles. He got inclined towards doing chartered accountancy, and he switched over. At the age of 42, he became a chartered accountant and started a new journey. Wow. So see, people are changing. They are exploring and tapping their potential at later stages in life. So why not give that opportunity to the children right now? If the child is clear, if you see कि बच्चे में वो fire है, बच्चा कर सकता है, उसके अंदर वो caliber है, if his interest is matching, why not? और नहीं होगा तो कुछ और कर लेगा. There's so many options.
Age to explore. 19 is not a big age. And it's not a big age anyway. 19, he has time to explore. Also, so definitely, like, if the passion lies there, student must be pushed, encouraged to do something that he or she really likes. Where I was also coming from, ma'am, is the approach towards dealing with parents. So let's say he is passionate, assuming that he is passionate about it, he's doing good there. Does his call of not sharing these things with parents initially, and only when he achieves something, does something good and maybe good enough to be showcased to parents, and maybe they won't understand, because anyway there is a generation gap, as you said, plus something with stock market, people of that generation get finicky that there's something wrong, there's kuch satta chal raha hai aur kuch gadbad kar raha hai. So if he's doing it good, at what stage should he decide to communicate that with his parents, that I'm changing my career field? Because at some point, let's say he keeps on doing good, but at some point they will ask, placements jab aayenge ya jobs ke liye jab pucha jayega, what are you doing, kya ho raha hai, he'll have to tell at some stage. So what should be the advice to that child who is not decided, not tell his parents, not to tell his parents about his career shift, and then later when he does something good, he'll tell them? Is it the right approach?
I think a little bit yes, in our Indian scenario.
Okay.
Because till the time you are failing or you are not succeeded in your plan B, So plan A is something that the parents are expecting. They
Yes.
will not want you to pursue that plan B. They
Okay.
will create hindrances कि नहीं तुम ध्यान नहीं दे रहे हो, तो अपने
Right.
engineering पे ध्यान दो, तुम्हें यही करना है.
Right.
And probably they will be interfering in your, approach towards both the areas. So
True.
the day you feel that yes, you are competent and it is showing results, it has
Right.
started showing results in a positive way, that is the day you should communicate to the parents that yes, I have been doing this and I think I've been able to handle it. But then again, it is subjective because there are families who would accept it openly,
True.
who
True.
would understand the child that yes, my child wants to do both the things. My child is trying. He's trying to explore what he's more interested in first, and then maybe he'll have come to the plan B, which we consider as planning. So maybe there is open communication and parents understanding. Again, it is very conditional, because it wholly solely depends on what set of parents do you have.
True.
Are they good in communicating? Are they effective communicators? Do they allow open communication in the household? Are they supportive enough? Do you feel safe when you are talking to them? So those things are very important for a child to know first before disclosing all these things to the parent. Only if
Right.
they feel that, yes, I'm safe, I'm secure, and my parents will be supportive, I would recommend they should open up with the parents at the earliest. But if they
Okay.
think that they will not seek that support and concern will not be there, then they should hang on for a little more while, for a longer time.
Till the time they achieve more confidence and there
Yeah.
is more proof of concept.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Perfect. Perfect. That's a great advice. Ma'am, we are reaching towards the conclusion of our interaction with you, and we will really like you to give advice to two sets of listeners here. So, majorly in our audience, there would be people who have just passed their school and they are into their graduation. And since Buddy for Study is the largest scholarship portal in India, a lot of our subscribers are either scholars already or aspiring scholars. So, merit wise, they're good, they know what they're doing, but a lot of them still struggle to talk to their parents about their career, life, relationships. Now, one advice to those students who would be 18 to 22 years of age, and one advice to their parents on how this communication can be improved.
Okay. See, for the children, the advice is it is never too late to begin. So even if you have not been talking to them very openly, you should start talking to them. First, when they are talking, especially about some difficult thing, कि marks अच्छे नहीं आए या कुछ अच्छा नहीं हुआ, कुछ गलत हो गया, तब बात करनी है पेरेंट्स से. तो पहले तो ये सोचें आप पेरेंट्स से एक्सपेक्ट क्या करते हो. Do you want them to listen to you? Do you want them to just hear you out? Do you want to ask them something? Do you want to take permission? Do you want their advice or support? So just think about it, that what do you actually expect from your parent. And once you do that, then put it in words. When you want to speak to your parent, put it in words and tell them that Mama or Papa, I want to talk to you about something. And as of now, I just want to share my concerns because it is bothering me. I'm not yet ready for the advice. Maybe talk to them like this, they will understand. Or you just tell them that I want to, come out with something which is bothering me, but then I just want to hear me out for now. The parents will understand. And also, when they're talking, sometimes they're scared, sometimes they're worried how my parent is going to react. So in these circumstances, also, I think the children should see what emotion is there. You feel if you're going to discuss, they will be disappointed. So tell them that I have something to share with you. I think you'll be disappointed, but then I still want to share it. Or tell them that, I am afraid. I think that you will go mad, really. You will not be happy with what I'm going to say, but still I want to share it with you. So you have to talk it out with them, but use those words and scenario. Plus, sometimes for some children where the communication channels are not that open, it becomes very difficult for them to start. So I would suggest practice that time. शीशे के सामने खड़े होकर प्रैक्टिस करो कैसे मम्मा पापा से बात करनी है, and then go and talk to your parent. If not Shisha, take your friend as a parent. Use your friends or relatives, talk to them, and then speak to your parents. And also, when you are speaking to your parents, make sure that you are approaching them at the right time. अगर मेरी माँ खाना बना रही है उस समय और मैं बात करूंगी, वो नहीं सुनेगी मेरी बात. When my dad is on the laptop doing something important, I talk to him, that is not the right time.
True.
See the right time and talk to them. Then I want to discuss about something important. When can we talk? What will be a good time to speak? And
Right.
try that it's a quieter place where there are no too many distractions, and then speak to your children. So this is the advice that I would want to give to the younger children. And for the
Awesome.
parents, yes, there's so much for the parents. The parents have to, understand a lot of things. The first important thing that I would like to say is when you're talking to your children, do not react, but respond. Mostly the parents
Right.
are reacting when they, जैसे बच्चे ने कुछ बोला, डाम, वो बंदूक चला दी, but they don't respond. So take a pause.
मतलब कोई
Take
रूल
a
बुक नहीं
pause.
है कि ये सही है ये गलत है. You should
बिल्कुल.
first listen.
First listen and give yourself a pause, give yourself a break, think about it, and then respond. Even it is not essential to respond at the same time. You can take time. Say, beta, I have heard you. Let me think about it and get back to you.
Right.
So respond and maybe respond later. Then be a good listener. Be a good listener. Your children will stop running to their friends if you will be non-judgmental. If you will stop forming opinions about them.
True.
Don't push them too hard. Don't push them too hard. And also don't take over. If they're speaking something, आप अपनी बात ही शुरू कर देते हो. उनको बोलने ही नहीं देते. उनको बात खत्म ही नहीं करने देते. So do not let that happen. Let them complete. And then you suggest whatever you want to speak. Don't just take over when they are speaking. And then, I see that parents do not use humor when they are interacting with their children. Parents should use some humor and talk about the children that interest their children. We generally say, let the child take the lead. So if my child is, say, interested in basketball, let me take that basketball as the lead to develop communication with the child, to develop effective communication with the child, or to connect more better with the child. Also, when the parents are dealing with children, teenagers especially, they should understand that they need to appreciate the little efforts and achievements done by the children. We forget to appreciate the small things. We take them as age appropriate. कि ठीक है कर रहे हैं इस एज में सभी बच्चे अच्छा करते हैं, बट नहीं अगर वो अच्छा करते हैं तो आप उसको अप्रिशिएट करो. Everybody desires appreciation, and also respect their opinion, respect their viewpoints, which is very important to build the trust. And you need to build trust. You have to be approachable. You have to be in a position where the child feels that the child can come to you anytime and every time. If there's a problem, there's nobody else the child will run to you, but you have to show that way. That yes, I am there for you always. Then, as I said earlier, also give space to your children. Don't penetrate too hard कि उनकी पर्सनल स्पेस में आप कर रहे हो कि बच्चा आपको गर्लफ्रेंड के बारे में बता रहा है तो आप तो ये भी पूछोगे वो कहाँ रहती है, उसके माँ बाप क्या खाते हैं, वो कहाँ सोते हैं. So stop it. Accept what the child is telling you, maybe with a little bit of humor. You can add on a little bit. Sometimes, at sometimes point of time, you can just ask or talk about it. But do not ask so much that the child becomes uncomfortable discussing things with you. Then give the freedom to the child to express himself or herself all the times. And one very important thing in the end, two important things are, one is, as a parent, do not try to fix problems for them.
Okay.
Do not be influencers, be the facilitators. Don't be in the influencer position. So parents try to fix problems. Do not try to fix problems. Talk to them. Think with them. Talk aloud about the things and let them take steps. Let them take their own decisions and follow them. So that is important. And the second and the last very important thing is here that generally, parents minimize the emotional expressions of the children and they deny their feelings. कि बच्चे ने आके गर्लफ्रेंड के बारे में बताया कि मम्मा ब्रेकअप हो गया और मैं तो वो रो रहा है, पीट रहा है, और पेरेंट्स कहते हैं इसमें क्या बड़ी बात है, इसमें कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है, टूट गया तो टूट गया और मिल जाएंगे, इट्स ओके. But then you should understand if a very prime relationship for a children collapses. I am just taking an example.
Yeah,
any
sure.
other thing also.
It could be different things.
If the child's girlfriend, the relationship has broken, it's like the world has fallen for the child.
For him at least. Yeah.
So when you're sitting with the child, please validate the emotions. That I understand. It is so difficult for you to handle. Talk to them in that way that it should be very hurting. I
Right.
understand it is very hurting for you. It hurts, Even if I break a relationship with a friend or something happens, or the friend stops even talking to me, I feel hurt. So this is like, ending a relationship. I'm sure you're feeling bad about it. So validate the emotions of your children. And then not that just validate and stop it. Then you can set boundaries. Tell the child, it is okay to feel bad, but it is not okay to stop eating.
True. True.
It is absolutely fine if you are feeling bad about it and you are feeling sad. Take your time. But it is not okay to stop eating or stop doing your homework or stop going to classes. So set the boundaries. But setting the boundaries is something that they will listen to you only if you have validated the emotions. You have been a patient listener to them. You have reacted and responded, taking your time.
True.
So I think this is the very important thing, being a mental health professional. This is the thing that the parent should understand of any age of child, whichever age, 5, 16, 22, or 30 years old, or even 50-year-old child. But if you want to connect to your child, please start validating their emotions and then connecting to them.
Wow. That's these are some really amazing insights, ma'am. Really, really amazing insights. That actually brings us to the end of this session. Vinita ma'am, thank you so much. We really, really enjoyed the session. I'm sure the parents and students, whoever this video will go to, this podcast will go to, will have big, big insights to extract from this. And we hope with these kind of insights that you have shared, the situation and the setup between children and parents will improve and evolve for Indian students as well.
I'm sure. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to connect with your children and their parents.
It's our honor,
I
ma'am.
hope the
It's our honor.
takeaways will help them in, communicating effectively with their children now.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank you
much
so
again,
much.
ma'am. Thank you so much for your
Thank
presence.
you. Thank you.